This presentation is going to take a quick look at whether inquiry-based learning is a useful tool for teaching 21st century skills. This video is intended for anyone who is not familiar with these topics, but I have geared it towards other students like myself who are studying to become teachers. We will start by looking at what is meant when we say 21st century skills, and then we'll move on to looking at what is inquiry-based learning. And finally, we will look at whether there is a match between the skills learned in inquiry-based learning and those identified as 21st century skills. So what is meant when we say 21st century skills? The Partnership for 21st Century Learning developed a framework of skills and knowledge that students need to succeed in work, life, and citizenship. They also identified the support systems that are necessary to achieve these 21st century learning outcomes. P21's framework for 21st century learning was developed with input from teachers, education experts, and business. The student outcomes are represented by the arches of the rainbow in this graphic, while the support systems are represented by the pools at the bottom. So let's take a closer look at the student outcomes. The key subjects that were identified are English, world languages, arts, mathematics, economics, science, geography, history, and government and civics. If we move on to learning and innovation skills, we see they identified creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, communication, and collaboration. Let's look next at life and career skills. Let's look at information literacy, media literacy, and information and communication technology. Now let's look at life and career skills. Those were identified as flexibility and adaptability, initiative and self-direction, social and cross-cultural skills, productivity and accountability, as well as leadership and responsibility. So that's a quick overview of the 21st century skills as identified by the Partnership for 21st Century Learning. So let's now look at what is meant when we say inquiry-based learning. The term inquiry-based learning is an umbrella term. It covers a number of approaches for teaching and learning, one of which is project-based learning. In project-based learning, students complete a complex task and then they create a project or a presentation as a way to demonstrate their understanding. Some of the key components of an effective project-based learning are that it must be central to the curriculum. It should be organized around questions that will lead students to key or central ideas. It needs to be student-driven, and it needs to be authentic. Up next is problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is similar to project-based learning, but it doesn't necessarily include a student project. It usually starts with an ill-structured problem or a case study, and then students have to work together in small groups to create meaningful learning. The students need to identify what they need to learn so that they can solve the problem and generate strategies for a solution. They also need to implement the strategies, evaluate the results, and then generate new strategies until they decide that they have solved the problem. The third type of inquiry-based learning is design-based learning. And in design-based learning, students learn by creating a working design of a solution to a complex problem. Students will generate ideas, create prototypes, and develop plans. They have to create, then assess, and then redesign their work product, which supports revision and iteration learning. And the complexity of the problem often requires that students collaborate with each other. On his website that gives an introduction to inquiry-based learning, Stevenson gives a list of the skills that are learned through inquiry-based learning. And those skills are problem solving, creating solutions, collaborating in and out of the classroom, tackling real-world issues and questions, researching problems, communicating with each other, and developing a deep understanding of content knowledge. So if we take this list of skills and we line it up, let's see how it compares to those 21st century skills as defined by the Partnership for 21st Century Learning. So problem solving, that is identified as identified under critical thinking and problem solving, and is a learning and innovation skill according to the P21. Communication and collaboration, also a learning and innovation skill, as is creativity and innovation. Communication and collaboration again. Content knowledge. Now this one, whatever content the inquiry is built around will allow the students to develop deep content knowledge, and as long as the content is relevant to one of the 21st century subjects, then it will meet the requirements of reaching 21st century learning goals. In terms of the real world application, this would apply to life skills in terms of social and cross-cultural understanding. Both questioning and research fall under the 21st century skills of critical thinking and problem solving. So as we can see, it's a pretty good fit between inquiry-based learning and 21st century learning skills. Thank you for your time. These are the references for my talk.